The fighting between Israel and Hamas, which launched a surprise attack on Saturday, is the latest in the 7 decades of war and conflict between Israelis and Palestinians that has drawn in outside powers and destabilized the wider Middle East. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict dates back to the end of the 19th century. In 1947, the United Nations adopted Resolution 181 known as the Partition Plan, which sought to divide the British Mandate of Palestine into Arab and Jewish states. On May 14, 1948, the State of Israel was created, sparking the first Arab-Israeli war. Jews consider Israel their holy land, which their ancestors were instructed to make their homeland. During the course of history, Jews were pushed out of that land. They started heading back in the late 19th century. The two world wars contributed to the creation of Israel and Palestine. Let's go back in the history and understand this relation between Jews and their holy land of Israel. So basically, the name Israel derives from Jacob, who was given the name after he successfully wrestled with the angel of the Lord. Jacob was the son of Isaac, who was the son of Abraham, the founder of Judaism and the father of the Jewish race. Abraham, his son, and grandson Jacob are referred to as the patriarch of the Israelites. They all lived in the land of Canaan that later came to be known as the land of Israel. The 3 patriarchs and their wives are buried in the tomb of the patriarchs. Jacob, with his 12 sons, lived in Canaan. The 12 sons became the ancestors of the Israelis. They were also named the 12 tribes of Israel, or the children of the Israel. Famine in Canaan forced Jacob and his sons to migrate to Egypt. In the famous Exodus, Moses, a great-grandson of Jacob, led the Israelis back to Canaan. The Hebrews had been in the area of and around the current Israel since the 2nd millennium BCE. Hebrew kingdoms existed under Joshua, followed by King David and his descendants. Jews were the main settled population of the Palestine for over 1600 years. As per the Torah, in its first 5 books, God promised the land to the 3 patriarchs of the Jewish people in the early 2nd millennium BCE. The first kingdom of Israel was established in the 11th century BCE. The name Israel first appears in the Israel inscription of the Egyptian pharaoh Menephet of 1209 BCE. The territory of Israel was known by various names through the centuries: Canaan, Judea, Samaria, southern Syria, Syria, Palestine, Kingdom of Jerusalem, Palestine, and so on. The land of and around the current Israel can be referred to as a Judea or Palestine, both for brevity and for historic reasons. Judea was the original Jewish name. Rome invaded Judea and took its effective control in the 1st century CE. In order to de-Judaize it, the Romans renamed it after the Philistines as Palestine. The Philistines were an Aegean people closely related to the Greeks, who inhabited a narrow coastal strip on the Mediterranean, including Gaza. As for Wafa Sultan, the root of the word Philistine is a Hebrew word Phisa, which means invader, as the concerned people had invaded that part and settled on it. Arabs can't pronounce P, so why would they name themselves that way? Even now, Palestinian Arabs pronounce themselves as Palestinians. From 1920, the whole region was known as Mandate Palestine or just Palestine under the British Mandate, until the UN partition plan, followed by the establishment of Israel in 1948. It is worth noting that there was no nation called Palestine. There is nothing like Palestinian nationality or Palestinian language. The religion, language and culture of the Arab Muslims living in the area is the same as that of the Arab countries around. The word Palestine was used to refer only to an area and not to a country or nation. Several Arab leaders and academicians have unambiguously stated that there was and there is no country as Palestine. However, the name has since been used politically to create a false impression that Palestine was a nation, parts of which were unjustly given to Israel, and that the Palestinians as original inhabitants have been denied their rights. This is what Zuhair Mohsin, late military department head of the Palestinian Liberal Organization, himself said. Yes, the existence of a separate Palestinian identity serves only tactical purposes. The founding of a Palestinian state is a new tool in the continuing battle against Israel. Now let's know something about the Temple Mount, which is a hill in the old city of Jerusalem that has been venerated as a holy site in Judaism, Christianity and Islam for thousands of years. So King David established the city of Jerusalem as the capital of the whole land of the Israel, and for over 3000 years it has been the Jewish capital. In the Hebrew or Jewish Bible, Jerusalem is mentioned over 600 times and Zion, meaning Jerusalem or the land of the Israel, over 150 times. The Christian Bible mentions Jerusalem over 150 times. King David's son, King Solomon, constructed the first temple, also called the Solomon's Temple, at Mount Moriah, Temple Mount in Jerusalem in 1970 BCE, popularly known as the Temple Mount. A tradition related to Mount Moriah is the binding of Isaac for sacrifice by his father Abraham. The particulars of the temples are described in chapter 6 of the Books of the Kings 1 in Tanakh, which is the Jewish Bible. The first temple also housed the sacred Ark of the Covenant. After the destruction of the first temple in 587 BCE, the second temple at the same site was built in 538 to 541 BCE, which was destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE later. The Temple Mount in Jerusalem is the holiest site for the Jews. It is also a holy site for the Christians on account of close association of Jesus Christ with the Mount. Caliph Abd el-Malik built Dome of the Rock in 691 to 692 CE on the site of the first and second temples of Jews. Al-Aqsa Mosque was built next to the Dome of the Rock in 714 CE. Muslims believe the location of the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque to be the site of Prophet Muhammad's night journey to heavens and back. The night journey is mentioned in the Quran. The Quran does not specify the location as Temple Mount of Jerusalem. Under the Jordanian rule, Jewish holy sites were desecrated and the Jews were denied access to their places of worship. However, with Jerusalem under the Israeli rule, all Muslims and Christian sites have been preserved and made accessible to people of all the faiths. Israel has been liberal enough to even allow the Arab Waqf to control the Temple Mount. Yet, the Arab Waqf does not allow the Jews to pray at the Temple Mount. Jews only pray at the Western Wall or the Wailing Wall of the Kotel of the Temple Mount. Thanks for watching.